medical and health infrastructure in Rajasthan. Hospitals are, I mean to say, district hospital and attached medical college hospital, their number is 127. Medical colleges are 13 in number, out of which 8 medical colleges are in government sector and 5 are private medical colleges. In the same way, the other health institutions, their total number is more than 15,000. To promote private sector investment in healthcare, ensure quality of the healthcare at reasonable cost, promote development of the centers of the excellence, promote Rajasthan as a medical tourism destination, to development and alternative medicine centers, to develop super specialty healthcare institutions. Why medical tourism? Medical tourism, why in Rajasthan? Ours is a state of heritage city, as you all know. Most of the big cities and towns are situated on the national highways, global tourist destination, well-connected part of the Golden Triangle. First world-class treatment available in our state at the third world rate. Size of the Indian medical tourism currently to the tune of 15 billion and has to be expected 50 to 100 billion in next few years, growing at the rate of 30% per annum. Additional revenue for the market tertiary hospital-wise. This is a survey of 2012 by Mr. Kingsley study. Hospitality industry, state share in the national, foreign and domestic tourist arrival around 11.2% in terms of the national and 3.3% domestic. Developed tourist infrastructure, more than 6,000 5-star or 7-star rooms in scattered 150 hotels all over the country, all over the state, place on wheels, for most luxurious train in the world, and the number of the tourists is likely to be increased by a rate of 7% per annum. To promote private investment in the healthcare facility in the year 2006, a policy was here, and that policy was formulated by the Medical Planning and Resource Committee, and the land was allocated to the certain leading hospital, including Narayana Super Specialty Hospital, Fortis Escort, EHC Hospital, Manipal Hospital, and Pacific Education Society all over the state. Policy amended in 2011, and land concession and tax rebate will be as per needs and subject to be changed time to time. Challenges: availability of the land and the provision of the tax rebates in electricity, stamp duty and others, clearance, licenses, fire safety, environment, pollution control board, clinical establishment act. Land should be available at the place of the tourist importance, where there is a good road and air connectivity and world-class hotel facility. Shortage of the manpower in the healthcare in the remote and far-flung area, and broad and super specialty. Time lag in various clearance, single window system has to be strengthened. Lack of the awareness about the preventive health care and personal hygiene. Opportunities: huge unmet demand of the health care in the state, limited financial resources available with the government of Rajasthan due to the very high expenditure in the other social department and social services. Super specialty facilities, high-end diagnostic and treatment facilities in the medical college hospitals has to be improved. Deluxe cottages, rooms and multi-specialty cottages are proposed all over the state in all existing medical colleges, as well as proposed 7 new medical colleges. Outsourcing of the diagnostic facility, we have already outsourced, and the private partner is doing very well, particularly in the SMS hospital, Jodhpur Medical College, Bikaner Medical College, and the same facility has to be extended in the remaining medical colleges as well as proposed medical colleges, which are likely to be functional within couple of years. Running new medical colleges attached in the district hospital require the same type of services. Running of the State Cancer Institute, this is a proposed institute which is one of the world-class institutes. We have already gone with the MOU with the Senpalewar Foundation of the Lishman Puratkar. The initial investment is 120 crore and it is likely to be increased by 500 crore within 4-5 years. Multi-story super deluxe hotel was, as I have already mentioned, the location will be the every medical college hospital. The land will be available within the campus of the medical college hospital, and the project initial cost is different location-wise. As far as SMS Medical College in capital is concerned, it is around 100 crores, and the remaining 6 medical colleges total includes around cancer hospital, as I have already mentioned, the initial project cost is 120 crore and is likely to be increased up to 500 crore. New medical colleges, we have already proposed 7 locations for the new medical colleges like Barmer, district headquarters, Dungarpur, this Pali, Bhilwara, Churu, Bharatpur and Alwar. The remaining 13 locations are also there, which has been 2-3 years ago. The survey was conducted by one of the leading agencies, PD Corp, and they found that the 17 other locations are also as good as any medical college hospital. These hospitals are free to give on PPP mode for the future planning and the future establishment of the medical colleges. Outsourcing diagnostic services, contracting out diagnostic services on revenue sharing basis, RMRS would decide the requirement. The prospective licensee who would set up diagnostic facility and government hospital would be provided space in the hospital campus. This is a new proposal. Access to a large clientele of the government hospital. Doctors would not be allowed to refer the cases from the government hospital at such locations. Of course, BPL patient number up to 20% will be investigated free of cost. Rates will be regularized through the regulatory committee. It is already established at the state level. At the government level, rate for the investigation not available at medical college laboratory will be subsidized by 40%. The successful bidder will be one who would offer the highest revenue sharing, as the revenue sharing measures are already adopted in the SFN, Jodhpur and the Bikaner medical colleges. Medical Relief Society created to provide autonomy to the medical college hospital, policy to promote private investment and the outsourced diagnostic services. Development of the Manas Arogya Sadan, we have already developed hospital. It is as good as any medical college hospital located in the capital itself. In Manas Sarovar, its name is Manas Arogya Sadan. Although here the planning was different, the investment of the government was 26 crore and the private partner has invested 28 crore. And it is a 250 bedded hospital and supposed to be run with all super specialty including cardiology, cardiothoracic, nephrology, etc. This is the view of the hospital. Thank you.
With the due permission of Honorable Chair, I would like to introduce 2 more panelists for this session. One, these are 2 key stakeholders. I would like to invite Mr. Sarvesh Joshi from Jaipur Medical Association. A round of applause for Mr. Joshi, please. I will request for one more chair. This stage. One more chair, please. We also have Ms. Anaga Bhoot with us, a healthcare specialist she is. Round of applause. Over to the chair. So, we have one more presentation after Mr. Saining's very interactive presentation. We have a presentation from UNDP Norway India Partnership Initiative, and I invite Dr. Harish Kumar, Director of NDP, to present. A round of applause, Mr.
Honorable dignitaries of the dais, Naveen sir, policy, friends, colleagues. I recently attended a global summit, and their experts, like in this forum, Mrs. Oren, have been debating what is the single biggest challenge in the health sector. There were issues based around equity, access, primary health care, facility-based care, public-private partnership, innovations, technology. At the end of the day, the answer on which everyone seemed to agree was converting the knowledge we have into practices is the single biggest challenge root can be any. So friends, NIPI, which I represent under the umbrella of Norway India Partnership Initiative, where UNDP is one of the major partners, believes in walking the talks. We develop models of innovation. It provides catalytic, innovative, strategic support, which is sustainable. Innovation is in its design itself, for it is led by the state NRHM, debated by the technical committee of which Government of India is a member, and approved with the highest authorities of Norway and India. So, experiments are started, which are put into place for a couple of years. If successful, they are continued, otherwise they are discontinued. And to just give you a glimpse of our past illustrious history, we were the first one to take the experiment of home-based newborn care from culturally to the public health board, and it became country-wide phenomenon. In fact, it was major catalytic action in converting global WHO and UNICEF policy that essential newborn care can be delivered even by the community link workers. Similarly, I was working in Bangladesh till a few years ago, and they used to look at our model of facility-based newborn care, SNCs. We started with a short experiment in 13 districts, including 3 in Rajasthan, with our partners, UNICEF, which implemented it in around 40 odd districts. And today, it has become an innovative model in the country in which we have 600 SNCs, and believe me, this is the biggest facility-based investment in the public health sector any country has made. Continuing in that format, we have started the phase 2, and our partners are Jabaigo, which works in the area of pre-service education, but there is a saying, if you go to a new town, you start searching for it. But if you want to have a sustainable solution, you should plant trees. And the sustainable solution is pre-service education, what Jabaigos are getting. We have another partner in Public Health Foundation of India, which is coming out with innovative technology. You must have heard the name of FasterPlate. It's a diagnostic tool which can be used with a mobile platform, and the results of 73 tests are available instantly. So we are all collaborating together, maternal health, newborn health, child health, and use of technology to complete the whole continuum of care. I was listening with a lot of interest. There were 2 kinds of opinion emerging in the morning. One was saying focus on the public health or public in the PSC. The other, I heard some people saying no, we should focus on the 10% where it's easier to do. Friends, we come with an evidence-based approach, and the evidence says you can't say one or the other. Both have to be complementary to each other, what is globally known as continuum of care. It has to extend the life cycle approach. It has to continue from community to the facility. There cannot be one way that you can do only community level and leave aside the facility level. Continuing in the same way, this is our playing area. In Rajasthan, we have 3 districts, while we are working in 4 states, Rajasthan, Bihar, Odisha, and MP, and we are getting to the population of almost 2 crores, with an underfed population of 27 lakhs. And in these populations, we try and develop innovation. Implementation is done by the state and RHM, and if they find it successful, they continue with it, otherwise either discontinue. Following the evidence-based approach of continuum of care, we had HPNC and SNCU approach in phase 1. Under phase 2, we have started HPNC plus. And you may ask me what is HPNC plus and SNCU plus, and extending it to the facility level care, where improvement of quality of care, for that seems to be the need of the hour. So we have extending our continuum from survival to development, from newborn to childhood and from community to the facility level. Coming to the first innovation, HBNC Plus. There has to be an edge. For one cannot just keep on doing something because it is good. Problem statement when we started phase 2 in 2012 was, where is that India's newborn and child tax? We looked at that we have now 600 SSU, but our post-discharge SSU 100. And we heard Naveen saying in the morning today that they have started a voice SMS system. It is a step in that direction. For 10% of the children of the baby newborn discharged from the SSU died within the next week. And majority of these deaths happen in the first month itself. So something needs to be done. We have seen the best of the experiments. I was trying to review the India's total literature. Nowhere have we shown that more than 25% of the cases referred from the community reach the SSU. It hasn't been increased so far over the last 60 years. If they can't cover us, what do we need? We need to go. And how do we go? Can we load Asha all the time? The answer was probably not. So we thought, this is the most vulnerable population, and let's take ANM with us, for they are better equipped, they are with the health system for a longer time. The number is less than one newborn a month in a rural area, so she can provide care to such a person. And let's develop the protocols, what she needs to do, focusing on two special settings. Innovation is evidence-based, and that is AMC, compliance with discharge instructions and detection of the diseases. Second, I remember I come from a medical background. When I was a student, I used to hear our ORS usage in the country, I'm talking about ADs, used to be 27%. My colleague, CEO from NABH with us. And every year, whenever the Bible was asked, we used to simply just increase one and say, this is likely to be the ORS usage, and we used to be that. IME persons are here also, they will also understand that majority of the child health indicators in this country have increased very little or increased at a pace which is not acceptable, primarily being full immunization rate, ORS use rate, complementary feeding rate, exclusive breastfeeding rate, anemia, and hand washing rate. In fact, breastfeeding rates have rather fallen. What needs to be done? We have been talking multiple things: propaganda approach, promotional approach, posters approach, the multimedia approach, but that hasn't given us the desired results. Keeping these problems in our mind, we designed an innovation. Today, global policy is that essential newborn care can be provided by community workers for the first month of life by worker like Asha, and India has started it. We are now presenting a second hypothesis that these community workers, if they only implement the protect and the prevent interventions, they can play a significant part in reducing infant mortality. With that, we sat down with the technical people. We narrowed down on 7 interventions which are all evidence-based, targeting growth monitoring, ORS increase use rate, complementary feeding rate, full immunization rate, and we added to it a newer phenomenon, and that is early child care and development, that is playing and communication. You may be wondering what is this. People have shown by evidence that early child care and development by the mothers lead to increase in IQ of at least 10%. And this WHO, it's not I'm saying, it's a WHO evidence which is speaking from multiple places. In India, we believe most of our mothers talk enough with their babies. No offense. There's only one study. World Bank has done studies in various parts of the world, and the majority of the developing countries, less than 40% of the mothers play adequately or play appropriately or counsel appropriately with their mothers, with their babies. KMC is one step in that direction. It extends beyond games. So we added these innovations and bundled them together with 4 structured visits, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. But the problem was we had immunization contacts with the health people. 1.5 months, 2.5 months, 3.5 months, 9 months. A long period delay between 3.5 months to 9 months. And this is the most crucial period for child survival and development. For diarrhea section, majority of times, respiratory infection section, majority of the time, we have to give measles immunization, and most important, the cornerstone of nutrition, complementary feeding. So keeping these things in mind, we came up with a structured visitation program with some incentivization and an orientation program. We developed tools towards that. We developed the training packages, did the capacity building. We have completed capacity building of almost 20,000 functionaries. We started the home visitation, provided social supervision, and this is in line with essential newborn action plan and global action plan for pneumonia and diarrhea. Whatever interventions they were suggesting, we have almost all. To track each and every child, we started a live-based information system, and today we have data of almost 2 lakh children, where we can see which families are benefiting from, which child has received iron supplementation, which child has received prophylactic ORS. A small word about ORS, friends. The best place in the world which has increased maximum ORS coverage is Bangladesh. And I am fortunate that I was a witness to that. BRAC did an experiment. They gave prophylactic ORS to every child, every family. A week later, a supervisor went and asked for the knowledge of the mother how to prepare it. And that led to increase in ORS rate to beyond 65%. And that's the highest in the world. We are trying the same experiment, and we have almost got success. But India has now accepted it as one of the interventions to intensify diarrhea techniques. We recently got an evaluation done, and 13 districts, you'll be surprised to know, we got it tested twice. 2014, we started this experimentation in 2013. 2014, we started with capacity building, and in the middle of the year, we started actual implementation. And with ASHA DISH program, which Naveen was mentioning, we linked the payment of the ASHA to that effect. 77% ORS intake at EDP, this is highest ever reported from India at any point of time. Iron supplementation, for which India had absolutely no data. There are lots of other issues around iron, the acceptability and the continuation and the storage of the iron, but we could achieve a coverage of almost 58.3%. 70% of the families have a mother-child protection card, and is being performed. Initiation of complementary feeding to the tune of 80%, and age-appropriate vaccination 70%. It's not full immunization. For full immunization, is likely to be much higher. So with these parameters in mind, we are greatly elated with the success, and we share the information with the country. Last week in Shimla, I was with the Joint Secretary and with the other dignitaries, and they have accepted to extend this to 40% of the population, keeping initially the high-risk population, that is the low birth weight and children discharged of the SSC. So country has already started sort of scaling it up. I am congratulating the Rajasthan advisor, but he has been able successful that we got the approval for extending it to 10 more HPDs in Rajasthan, and will be there more than willing to provide all kind of support for Rajasthan needs in this direction. The second innovation we started was extending the continuum of care from SSU to the community with the help of ANM and ASHA and what we call it SSU Plus, with 4 innovation packages actually did KMC, improving compliance and discharge instruction, promoting early child care and development, and promoting network fertility science. Only data we have is from UNICEF, which reports 10% mortality. So far, the data which we have got from Rajasthan shows 1.9% mortality. That means this is a doable task and can give fast, quick results. We are still awaiting results of 1 more year implementation before we go back to the country, whether they should extend it or not. But they have already taken the concept, and they have already instructed ASHAs to visit especially these cases, and they are being given SMS messages that they should go to the homes to provide essential information. Third thing which we have started is the resource-based approach for newborn has to be addressed. The quality of care has to improve for the newborn if country has to achieve any child survival indices. And in that direction, what we have in the country are few resource centers, Delhi, Kolkata, Bombay, Pune, and some other places. These many centers cannot. Some states, progressive states, like I'll say, Rajasthan, Bihar, MP, they have come up with the state resource center. But the quantum is so big that even one state resource center cannot do much. What is the need of the hour? That we take this to the district level. Second, people in the medical colleges in the state, they have limited time available in that. They cannot support the whole of the state. So we have come up with a concept, is it doable, that you provide a resource center support and they provide mentoring to the sub-district facilities, and we have developed a structured checklist. So far, results are encouraging, but I cannot quantify in terms of number of lives. And the recent list, which we did a study based on WHO parameters, 16 indices, 18 quality standards, and did an assessment of the 13 district hospitals across 4 states. And what we got was that the biggest weakness is what public health experts say, fourth delay. There have been talks of PPP, 3P, and adding the 4P. The biggest thing which puts the public health program on the back foot is a trial that is effort from the community, reaches the facilities, reaches the line, but dies reported on the same. And that is what is happening in the majority of our hospitals. This has happened not only in district hospitals. I could see the same phenomena across hospitals, including hospitals. I know, just one more minute, I'll stop short. So, emergency management in the facilities, especially for the pediatric care, has to improve. And the second biggest weakness we came across was there are multiple reports of HR shortage, infrastructure shortage, equipment availability, and non-lack of cleanliness. But we see that there are families and mothers which strong these facilities, and they are considered as leaders by the health providers. They rather, you hear everyday talks of strikes and other problems. We want to utilize them in a positive way. There's a saying that if you make your enemy as your best friend, probably you can win the battle. We are trying to say that we'll use these families. There's a concept known as family-centered care. We are trying to develop that concept across 5 district hospitals and see how much damage for many developed countries. It's not that it is only for the developing countries. Many developed countries across Norway, across America, they have started this concept of family-centered care. This is what I was lacking, and we are starting this experimentation for the first time anywhere in the world. Emergency trial and treatment with the help of nurses. We are starting in Rajasthan in Alwar. We have already got the space selection from the state and society. We have got the manpower. We have developed the training package. We have conducted the first batch of the training within this year itself, and we have developed our monitoring indicators, and will come back to you in a year's time how much we could deliver. Family-centered care is an absolute novel concept where we will utilize the mothers in the care of the newborn, but we always hear that shortage of HR. And if you see, half of the time of the doctors and nurses goes into routine care such as feeding, maintaining temperature, or even changing the nap. And this much work can be done by the mothers. The biggest advantage is these newborns, they remain vulnerable even after discharge. And I was hearing the CAT mentions this morning. Speaker after speaker was saying we need to do community empowerment. What is the best way to do community empowerment? With the babies in the facility itself, they do it, they learn it, and this is learning by doing. And when they go back, the mother feels that much confident, and I'm sure this is going to give the desired result. The advantage is we'll have a link in the facility, we have a community-based program, and we can tell you exactly how much we could achieve. Beef for Brazil and beef for Brazil. Why I say beef for Brazil and beef for Brazil have the maximum number of human impacts anywhere in the world. And the government of India, we sent recently a delegation to Brazil. We started this experimentation from digital Malvana. Recently, we got a similar center opened in Chennai. 2 days back, I visited. This was opened 3 months back, and they have already collected close to 100 liters of milk. And believe me, the cost of each liter of human milk cannot be paid even in for this has been one of the innovations which have helped countries increase their breastfeeding practices, and we know this is the Achilles heel in our public health planning that we have not been able to achieve. increase breastfeeding rates. So we have to come out with innovative solutions, and hopefully, I was listening that there was a debate in the morning whether we should have PPP or it is PPP is not privatization. Similarly, what we want to say that Human Wealth Bank is not the only solution for this. It at least starts a debate in the country that how to improve the breastfeeding. When we started it, there were debates that country doesn't have Human Wealth Bank guidelines. So countries at least posed to it, and now there are talks that they will try and develop Human Wealth Bank guidelines. So friends, what we do that we try and create evidences for achieving child survival in the country, which can be not only by India but across the globe, which can influence the global policy. And I like to end by saying, घर से निकले थे मस्जिद जाने को, घर से निकले थे मस्जिद जाने को, मस्जिद तो दूर है, चलो मेरी छोटे बच्चे को हटाया जाए। Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harish Kumar, and a very delighting shairi, which actually is a message for mankind. In continuation, I will now request, before requesting the next speaker, I would just like to tell that Ms. Anaga Koot is from Children Investment Fund Foundation, SIP, which is being called popularly. So I think she will be very instrumental in this session on investments. So I invite Dr. Sarvesh Joshi, Secretary of Jaipur Medical Association, to please have some words.
परम सम्मानीय नवीन जैन साहब, SPC साहब और प्रबुद्धजन मंचासी में जो ये आज का जो सेशन मिला है, इन्वेस्टमेंट इन हेल्थ केयर इन राजस्थान चैलेंजेस एंड अपॉर्चुनिटीज, इस पे मैं ख्वाब एवं हकीकत के बीच का थोड़ा सा जो फासला है उस पर थोड़ी कुछ टिप्पणी करना चाहता हूँ। पाथ टू मेडिकल टूरिज्म इन राजस्थान को क्या चाहिए? Huge infrastructures, skilled manpower, ultra modern medical equipments. इसका क्या मतलब है? Huge investment. And हमारे राजस्थान की और राजस्थान की नहीं पूरे हिंदुस्तान की एक फिलोसॉफी है फॉर हेल्थ केयर इंडस्ट्री। क्या है? Should be cheaper, free for lower class, complete free for BPL patients, and everything free at government hospitals also. ये बहुत सुंदर है, सुनने में आदर्श है और हमारा ये एम भी होना चाहिए। पर जब प्राइवेट सेक्टर अपना ह्यूज इन्वेस्टमेंट लेके राजस्थान की तरफ देखते हैं, अपने स्किल्ड मैन पावर को लेके और ह्यूज इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं, तो रिजल्ट्स क्या आ रहे हैं? हमें इन दोनों के रीजन में कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन है। एक तरफ ह्यूज इन्वेस्टमेंट, एक तरफ लो कॉस्ट। अब हमें इसको मेट आउट करना है। मैं सर की प्रेजेंस में थोड़ी दो बात रखना चाहूँगा कि अभी हमारे राजस्थान का क्या सिनारियो है। ब्रेन ड्रेन हो रहा है, डॉक्टर्स, सुपर स्पेशलिस्ट सब बाहर की तरफ जा रहे हैं, जिसमें गुजरात है, दिल्ली है। इवन हम मेडिकल टूरिज्म की बात कर रहे हैं। राजस्थान सबसे बड़ा स्टेट है जो एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा है पेशेंट का। हमारे जो बाहर जाने वाले पेशेंट हैं वो 40% NCR दिल्ली में जाते हैं और 30% अहमदाबाद चले जाते हैं। यदि हम 70% पेशेंट को ही यहाँ कैटर करें, उनको यहाँ रोक लें, तो फिर हमारे मेडिकल फैटर्निटी पर बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट आ सकता है। तो हमारा पहला एम होना चाहिए कि हम ये ब्रेन ड्रेन हो रहा है और हमारे पेशेंट्स को जो बाहर जाना पड़ रहा है उसके लिए हम क्या करें। और जितने भी बड़े सेटअप हैं वो ग्रेट स्ट्रेस में चल रहे हैं, उन्हें अपनी मिनिमम जो एक्सपेंसेस है उनको वेट आउट करने के लिए काफी कुछ करना पड़ रहा है। और न्यू वेंचर, जो भी नए वेंचर आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि मैं JNA का सेक्रेटरी भी हूँ, हमें काफी लोगों से मिलना पड़ता है, हमें काफी लोगों से बात करनी पड़ती है, नए वेंचर यहाँ आने के लिए जमीन तो तलाशते हैं पर झिझकते हैं कि हमें राजस्थान में वो आउटपुट मिल पाएगा या नहीं मिल पाएगा। और इसके लिए हमें क्या करना चाहिए? मैं सबको ये अर्ज करना चाहूँगा कि हमें हेल्थ इंडस्ट्री के लिए हेल्थी एनवायरनमेंट क्रिएट करना चाहिए ताकि हमारी हिम्मत, यहाँ जो डॉक्टर्स हैं उनकी हिम्मत बंधे, उनको ये सुकून मिले कि हाँ हम एक बहुत अच्छे एनवायरनमेंट में अपनी सर्विसेज दे पाएंगे। और जितने भी एक्ट्स आ रहे हैं वो प्रैक्टिकल होने चाहिए, लाइक क्लिनिकल एस्टेब्लिशमेंट एक्ट। हमें वो उनके जो रूल्स बन रहे हैं वो राजस्थान के अकॉर्डिंग बनाने चाहिए। हमें राजस्थान की भौगोलिक परिस्थितियाँ, यहाँ की सामाजिक परिस्थितियों को देखते हुए हमें उन रूल्स में, उन एक्ट में अमेंडमेंट करवाना चाहिए ताकि यहाँ के डॉक्टर्स एक फ्री एनवायरनमेंट में काम कर सकें। CHC और ये जितने भी CGHS हैं, ECHS हैं, ESI हैं, गवर्नमेंट सेटअप हैं, इनकी जो रेट्स हैं जो सिग्निफिकेंटली लो है, हमें उन पर भी ध्यान देना चाहिए कि क्या हमारे अच्छे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से, अच्छे स्किल्ड पावर पर्सन इस रेट पे काम कर सकते हैं ईमानदारी से, तो हमें इन बात पे भी गौर करनी चाहिए। अब हमारा क्या है, एम क्या है कि we want a world class health facility at a most minimum cost that not possible at all. It's just a nightmare, not reality. तो हमें रियलिटी पे वर्क करना पड़ेगा। और मैं आज का माध्यम मिला, मुझे ये मंच मिला, मैं एक छात्र नेता रहा हूँ, एक छोटा सा डॉक्टर भी हूँ, 100 बेडेड हॉस्पिटल भी चलाता हूँ और दिन प्रतिदिन आने वाले प्रॉब्लम्स को सीधा फेस करता हूँ। तो मैं मेरे विचार प्रस्तुत किए, यदि किसी को मेरे विचारों से आपत्ति है तो मैं माफी चाहूँगा। नवीन जैन साहब के सम्मान में मेरा हार्दिक आभार, इन्होंने मुझे यहाँ बुलाया। थैंक यू सो मच।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सफेद जोशी जी। ख्वाब और हकीकत के बीच की दूरियां तय करना ही एक मकसद है इस समय का कि शायद कुछ दूरी तय हो। जहाँ तक ख्वाब की बात है तो मैंने एक पंक्ति कुछ वक्त पहले लिखी थी कि मेरे ख्वाबों की हकीकत मेरे इरादों को ही मालूम है। मेरे ख्वाबों की हकीकत मेरे इरादों को ही मालूम है, दुनिया का क्या है हर बात बचती है। तो आप देखना अच्छी बात है, आप देखेंगे और आपके मार्गदर्शन में और सभी के आइडियाज के साथ राजस्थान में हेल्थ केयर विकास होगा। नाउ आई इनवाइट मिस्टर W.J. Wonderwall from GR Futures Pioneering Group of Companies to please share his views. Mr. Wonderwall, a round of applause for him.
It's a real pleasure to be here today. If I don't make too much sense, I flew in from Australia yesterday afternoon at 4:30. Might be a little jet lag, please forgive me. The question at hand here is investment in Rajasthan, and there are traditional investments which international, multinational corporations have made over longer periods of time here in India. I think of Nestle and Pepsi. It does take a long time to break into a market which is incredibly exciting to the rest of the world. India has the fastest growing middle class population in the world. It has in fact the fastest growing population in the world. There's many opportunities for what I would call vanilla investments. And those are the sorts of investments which are fast moving consumer goods or services, construction, these types of things. About 7 years ago, one of the gurus at the Rockefeller Foundation coined a new term, and they called it impact investing. So whereas your vanilla investors want to just get a single bottom line, they want to see rupees, dollars, pounds, yen at the end of the line, impact investors have a dual motivation. They want to have the commercial return, but they also want to have a social or environmental return. And that, in terms of investing in the health sector, is where the most exciting opportunities lie. Not for those large returns, but not doing it for on a pro bono or a revenue neutral basis. We've been working now in India for 30 years, where we make profit, and we call it profit with a purpose. The impact that we have had over those 30 years on millions of people's lives has been quantified and can be measured very, very clearly. It's part of the work that we do. And this measurement is a core part of what impact investing is all about. It's no good sort of saying, well, it just so happened that by virtue of my investment, extra income came into a household and so more children were able to be educated. There has to be a very focused notion of measurement at the outset. So that is to say that you expect that investment to have a particular metric around a social good. What we have, and I'm very delighted to have one of my colleagues from the Children Investment Fund Foundation here, as they're involved in this space as well. A combination of this term of impact investing with the payment by results methodology, which sees only successful interventions being remunerated for, has turned into an innovative financial structuring mechanism. It's known by many names: benefit bonds, social yield notes, social impact bonds, development impact bonds. Essentially, they're structured financial instruments, and they have a great deal of flexibility in them. And what you're really getting at the end of it is your commercial returns solely based on your social impact. So, what if I were to try and put a price on the saving of 15,000 babies' lives, or 1,455 mothers' lives, or increase the use of couples using contraception by 2.6 million, saving the health system £48 million. We did that over 2 years in Bihar and Orissa. My colleagues from Futures Group will be able to answer the tricky technical questions. Innovative financing is my specialty, but those numbers alone give me great hope and great passion for the same sort of thing being implemented here in Rajasthan. What we're proposing to do is bring together investors to invest 250 crore over a 5-year period in Rajasthan. Those funds will go towards the saving of 30,000 children's lives, of 3,000 mothers' lives, and increasing couple years of protection by a factor of 6 million. We're going to be bringing those investors together with our partners in the government of Rajasthan later on in this year to work through the details, because this is a complex and new world, and the figures that we're talking about and the numbers that we're talking about are very, very large. But this is important work, and this is a really tangible, immediate way for the investment community to be engaged immediately in incredibly important work. Globally speaking, there are over 100 impact bonds of the type that I'm talking about. Here in Rajasthan, you've actually seen the first development impact bond through SIF. I look forward to hearing more about how that's going. What we have is Kala Foundation, Telecap, Grameen Capital, investors absolutely clamouring to find opportunities. The biggest problem in impact investing is a lack of pipeline. Through the development of these impact bonds, or these structured financial mechanisms, we're providing scalable pipeline for impact investors to get behind. I hope you'll all join us for the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing your views and your vision for your journey, for the journey of the group itself. And hopefully, many of us in Rajasthan will join you in that. So, the last speaker of today's session, but a very important speaker, a very important organization altogether, Children Investment Fund Foundation, popularly called CIF. We have Ms. Anaga Kote from there, I request Ms. Anurag to please address. A round of applause for our speaker from CESS.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, Naveen Sarji and members of the audience. I'm representing, as Karthik said, an organization called Children's Investment Fund Foundation. We are a UK-based philanthropy organization that, as the name suggests, works on children's issues. And we work with several partners in Asia and Africa to bring about transformative change in lives of children. Our work primarily focuses on 3 or 4 main areas, one of which is health, education, nutrition, and we also work on the area of climate change. We have been working in collaboration with the government of Rajasthan over the last 7 years, and mainly in the area of health and education to date. In area of health, our focus is more on child survival. We are working with the government to improve the quality of care which is available in the labor rooms and maternal, mainly on maternal health, with a view to reduce infant and neonatal and maternal mortality. And we're now also looking to continue our support to the government through the scale-up of the Dakshata initiative. And as our previous speaker said, we are also doing something very innovative. For the first time in the development sector in the field of education, we are trying out a development impact bond. This is a collaboration between CIF, NGO called Educate Girls, and UBS Optimus Foundation, where we are looking to see if we can use impact investing to drive better social outcomes. In this case, we are looking to improve the retentions of girls in schools. And we are committed to taking forward our work in education, mainly in the space of early learning, looking at the age group of 0 to 3 years in Rajasthan. We are also committed to taking forward our work and working with government and other partners who are already working in Rajasthan and maybe some new players as well in the area of nutrition. And our focus is going to be in reduction of stunting. We're looking to do a transformative program over the next 5 years in partnership with all the existing players, government and others as well. So on behalf of CIF, I'd like to say that we're very happy to be here and take forward this journey and start some new discussions to take forward the agenda of children's health, education and nutrition in Rajasthan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anurag. Do we have any questions for the panel? We can take your questions. Please use the mic. So please introduce yourself and ask the question.
Hi, I'm Ram Saraswanam. I'm the founder of Praxify, which is a technology that Dr. Ajay Bakshi alluded to during the session. A lot of interesting points being discussed. As an ex-investment banker, see that healthcare is receiving a lot of support. A question that I had is, these investments are going into, are they going directly to the government, or is it going to be a PPP model from an investment perspective as well, where the investment party is going to be part of, the stakeholders, are going to be the stakeholders in the initiative itself? This question is to both Peter as well as the bank.
One more minor on stage.
CIF has a model where the UBS Optimus Foundation is investing directly in it. And in a sense, it's a bit of a proof of concept. So if this does turn out to be an effective model, then they do actually plan in the longer term to use it as a class of investment product for their traditional clients. In terms of what we're talking about, it's a blended model. So using existing PPP infrastructure around reimbursement of services, as well as using additional funds from foundations and from corporate social responsibility providers. So there's a different tiered structure level for different types of investment risk and different types of outcome funders, some of which will be very specific to particular metrics, others which will be more broad. So it's a very, very flexible, very adaptive model.
Just to add, I think, as we said, right, the development platform is really a proof of concept, and we're still in the very initial stage of designing it, because I think we're also having challenges with how to design. And another point is that since as an organization is very committed to evidence and evaluation, so we're also trying to figure out how to evaluate and document this process. But much of our work, apart from the development platforms, is through partners as such.
Just to finish it off, obviously everything within the policy and legislative framework of government and working hand in hand with government, absolutely 100%.
The last question for the session. Can you please hand over the mic to... Can you please hand over anybody from the team?
Peter, good afternoon. I'm M.K. Pandey, Asian Institute of Medical Sciences. We are talking about PPP. Our experience is that none of the major PPPs in healthcare has taken it. Few examples of diagnostics which are projects successful. But we find that at some stage we get bogged down and moved out of the project. You can comment as an investor in PPP?
Would you mind terribly if I asked my colleague who to answer that question, please?
Of course.
Yeah. If we talk on PPP, successful PPP models on health, we're working in Bihar since last 2 years with the DPP project. And during the last year, you can see, one of the PPP models I quote here is we introduced 3 mobile clinical outreach teams. These teams, they visited the public sector facilities where government could not provide ambulance services before. And because of these 3 teams, we could provide around 30,000 sterilization services during the last 1 year in 110 facilities. So you can see this is an example of PPP model. And in this scheme, the government involves the service provision to the team also. Therefore, there are successful PPP models, examples of successful PPP schemes. There are other things also we worked out around during the last 2 years. Accreditation is another scheme which is quite successful in Bihar. Bihar as well as in Odisha also. These are some examples and there are some more also. We can discuss if you have time.
There are several examples of scale up, the successful PPPs. It's wrong to say that there are all failures. There are failures. The problem is the scale up. We haven't seen too many scaled up PPPs in health. The scale up depends on many other factors because some of the PPPs were designed in such a way that the scale up was never taken into consideration. So it was like a pilot. The pilot was successful and it has been archived. So it remains there. So when we are designing a PPP, we have to take into account that what is the scale up potential does that idea have. And so accordingly, once we design it, then there will be a lot of scale up. So today, when you see the scale up, the designs of the PPP, they're changing.
And taking what Soumitra is saying, like this, the expert model being piloted in Bihar, looking at the success, Gates Foundation expanded this project to another 10 districts, and now it is implemented in the other districts also.
See, under the IFPS, you see that in UP, the Sirsa project, there were at least 10 to 12 innovations which were proven successful. Voucher scheme, social franchising, social marketing. There are a number of such examples. The point is that those were not scaled up for different reasons. Now, what you're saying is true. I think the point is that it's not a failure. We can't conclude that's a failure. They're successful. The whole DAC program, it's an innovation by itself. The whole DAC thing was like taken up every state.
लेकिन वो पर्दे के ऊपर है ना, इस वजह से फिर वो हिलता है ना।
More strict to that, but then the PPP component is by no means the entire program. It's one element. It's about a quarter of the entire program, and it's through existing legislation. So it's the initiative itself will not fall or stand on the basis of the PPP, but essentially having the funds available through the investors with the capital up front will enable a much smoother flow of reimbursements, and that's particularly where we're looking at PPP.
Okay, thank you very much. So here we wrap up the session. It was indeed a very interesting and interactive session from various stakeholders related to healthcare investment. Now I request Mr. S.K. Singh to please hand over the mementos to our eminent speakers in the panel.
Excuse me? Yeah. Can I have one question?
Can we take it offline, please? I request you. Okay, take it offline. Yeah. So, Mr. S.K. Singh, Joint Secretary Medical Education, Committee Rajasthan. Firstly, we are very thankful for him to join us and sharing the session. And now I request him to hand over the mementos to other speakers. So, इनको एक memento देकर सर आप token of thanks के तौर पर Dr. Harish Kumar, Director, UNDP Norway India Partnership Initiative. Sir, I आपसे गुजारिश है कि आप एक memento दें. Dr. Sarvesh Joshi, Secretary, Jaipur Medical Association. Mr. Wonderwall from DRM Futures Paradigm Group of Companies. And from Children Investment Fund Foundation, Ms. Analato. I also request Anaraji to please present the memento to S.P. Singh sir for his greatest contribution. And coming over and chairing the session. And now a group photo is requested. After that, now immediately move on to the next session, which is on best healthcare practices in India. Thank you very much, panelists. A round of applause for our panelists. Dr. Samit Sharma, who couldn't join